All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone. Praveen this side from Factors.ai. I'm really excited to have Riley from Cacheflow, one of our most amazing customers, on the LinkedIn Live today. We'll just give it a couple of minutes before we start with introductions, etc. Riley, where are you dialing in from?
I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Okay. Have you been there for a while now?
Yeah, I've been here about 6 years, and then I did about a year stint in LA. And then I'm from Nova Scotia, the east coast of Canada originally.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never been to Canada. I should plan sometime. All right. So unlike the other LinkedIn lives that we have done, this one is special because this is probably one of the first times we're doing a customer event and a customer webinar. So yeah, that way I'm really excited. Typically, we tend to do with either industry thought leaders, etc., about marketing. So this is like a new experience for me as well. So thanks a lot, Riley, for making time and doing this with me today.
Oh, of course. No, thanks for having me. Excited to jump into some pretty tactical use cases. Not just for Factors users, hopefully for the broader marketing team, but you can definitely see how Factors makes some of this stuff easier.
Got it. Cool. I think we can get started. So again, I'll just start with a round of introduction. So my name is Praveen. I am one of the founders of Factors.ai. I take care of product, customer success, and marketing at Factors. About Factors, we are a 4-year-old company. We work with over 500 customers globally. Most of our customers are in the SaaS or business services segment. One of them is Cacheflow, and Riley here is the head of marketing at Cacheflow. So Riley, over to you for a quick intro.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Riley Timmons. I lead marketing at Cacheflow. We are a connected CPQ and billing platform specifically for the SaaS space. So what that means is everything to do with quote to cash. We kind of focus on quoting, billing, subscription management, automating a lot of those time-consuming workflows that are involved in getting a deal done and expanding it. We just make it a much smoother seller and buyer experience.
Yeah. And we've been working with Cacheflow and Riley for a long time, for more than a year now. And recently, Cacheflow also it was announced that HubSpot is acquiring Cacheflow. So Riley, congrats on that. That's like every startup's it's such a sweet next step for you, being acquired by a very large public company, a market leader in its category. So yeah, really great news.
Yeah, thanks. No, we're super excited.
Yeah, and to that extent, I think today's webinar would be focused on that journey of a startup from seed to acquisition, and what really went into kind of designing the GTM engine to make this happen. Right, Riley, maybe let's get started with, when did you join Cacheflow? Tell us a bit about your role. How many people were there in the team when you joined? What was the stage of the company? Yeah, let's start there.
Definitely. Yeah. So I joined 2 years ago, and we had just announced our Seed Plus raise. So that was, the round from Google Ventures. The company originally started as a B2B financing tool. And at that point, we kind of made the pivot to focus more on CPQ and quoting and billing. I think the team was probably 10 to 12 people total. There was, 2 on the marketing team. So I actually originally came in to lead growth marketing. And yeah, number of customers also probably around 10 customers. So, very much like design partners at that point. They were all sort of like founder-based selling. So we were kind of really coming in and just figuring out, still who is our ICP, who are we really selling, and before that, who are we even talking to for marketing? And then, yeah, pretty crazy 2-year journey. We focused a lot on, kind of moving up to the mid-market SaaS range. And yeah, surprisingly very competitive area as well. So we had a few competitors that started, right around the same time as us, pretty much doing the same thing. So yeah, even though we were going after this, very high pain point area, which is CPQ, um, still had lots of, sort of headwinds to face to kind of break into that space. So yeah, excited to dive into that.
Got it. So fresh into a pivot, you've just joined a 12-member team with 10 design partners. Like, what was the sort of first order of business? What was like the first quarter priorities for you? And I know you touched upon going up market. So
Hmm.
so what happened there? Were like the initial customers like more SMB from the founder network, and at some point you just realized that this is not going to work. How did you make that decision internally, and also get the confidence to say you'd be able to serve mid-market customers?
Yeah. So the first job to be done from our CEO Sarka was really go and get us leads efficiently. We just need to have sales conversations and demos right now, and that actually kind of guided a lot of figuring out what we needed to build. So yeah, when we started off, we weren't calling ourselves a CPQ, mostly because we weren't. We were more of like a PandaDoc Plus sort of quote builder at that point. So yeah, lot of startup program customers. Sort of those packages where we'll give you everything all in one for a really easy to justify price. Sort of around like the 5 to 10K ACV range. And that was about the year. The first year was just kind of building that engine. And then, we were starting to meet with slightly bigger companies. We were, finding our product gaps that we had throughout that. So a lot of those early bigger company conversations helped guide what we were going to, build. And then we realized, we can definitely go much deeper into the CPQ category while still building, kind of future facing technology. So we can still make it no code. We can still make it super integrated. But there are some things we have to do, like advanced approvals. Companies at the end of the day are going to want multi levels of approvals and multi ways to do it. And then there was other things that customers have just been asking for that no one was doing really good, sort of like ramp billing, things like that. Like, how do we structure a deal so that we can get more customers in the door? And especially when I think just the market had more pricing sensitivity, we were seeing a lot more multi-year deals. So, okay, we'll give you a really good, first year price, but we want to build in growth for year 2 and 3. There wasn't actually a lot of tools that could handle that. So people were, signing them on paper, but then when it came time to bill for the increase, there wasn't really good tools to do that. So they actually added a lot of work to their plate versus taking it off. You'd think by signing a multi-year deal. So yeah, lots of sort of learnings like that from our customers in the first year.
So all of these sort of new feature requirements, the ramp billing, the multi-year deals, etc., were what enterprise customers wanted. And once you started speaking to them, they started pulling it out in terms of the requirements, right? Now,
Yeah.
In the first phase, when you were still on the sort of focused on the SMB sort of segment, what were the channels that you were using? You mentioned all-in-one packages, startup programs. So was that like a go-to-market channel to kind of partner with startup programs, or how did you reach out to these companies?
Yeah, we definitely tried that. The deal books. I probably spent a week, just finding and entering us in all the deal books possible. That worked okay. I wouldn't say it was a huge channel. For us, our channels didn't change too much. It was more so the messaging that really kind of changed to move us up. So yeah, our biggest channel pretty much the whole time was LinkedIn ads. And that's, sort of the obvious starting place that Factors helped us with. But yeah, even outside of that, we were doing some, community-based events like SaaS exec dinners. We started doing some conferences this year, but that was actually a pretty intentional move us up market strategy. So yeah, it was really, still LinkedIn ads, but it was mostly our messaging in the ads and then the landing pages that changed over time. That kind of developed us into, more of like a mid-market or enterprise CPQ.
Got it. So curious, like typically for most companies, Google Ads is their largest channel at that sort of stage, right? Is there any nuance to your segment where Google Ads just didn't work or didn't scale, and hence you were more focused on LinkedIn? Or
Yeah, definitely. I found it out pretty quick too. But the nuance was, there's no firmographic targeting in Google Ads. It's all based on,
Okay.
what the user searches. But because we were only, really targeting SaaS companies, 9 out of 10 clicks for CPQ software, it's probably not going to be a SaaS company, right? And those clicks were, $20, $30, even more CPC. So you're right. There was a lot of existing demand. It was just, not really demand that we could sell to, and not our ICP. But, I realized there was still value there. So we were kind of building up our SEO this whole time, and definitely got it to the point now where, we were really competing with even Salesforce for a lot of like CPQ related keywords. But, the great thing with paid social ads is you can essentially get in front of anyone you want to. You just have to, make sure you're putting relevant and sort of timely messaging through the ads to get their attention. But, once we started going down that route, we can actually capture and create a bit of our own demand through LinkedIn and even a little bit of Facebook ads. That was sort of working the best, and they were definitely the best, sales conversations we were having compared to a couple other channels at that time.
Got it. Again, was there something about the company philosophy around marketing that allowed you this flexibility to do more on LinkedIn? Because sometimes I when I speak to customers, what I hear is, because of this, because of certain approach towards highly trackable sort of lead conversions, etc. Like LinkedIn as a channel is harder to scale at that stage, right? Do you attribute some of that to like an overall marketing philosophy at Cacheflow as well?
Yeah, I would say partly we got lucky because of the timing. It's actually a good attribution issue to have. If you come in and there's no inbound, and then you start getting inbound, even if you don't have, your attribution dialed in, you have a pretty good sense of where that's coming from. If, most of your budget is going to LinkedIn, like, okay, we have a pretty good sense it's coming from LinkedIn ads. Now let's just figure out like which ads and which campaigns. So I'd say I was lucky on the timing part there. But overall, in general, like, I'm definitely a growth marketer, so I'm going to default to ads. But every company that I've been at for a startup, it's been a different ad channel. So I still, definitely have to do the work to figure out which channel is going to actually work best for us. And, I try to make as little assumptions as possible. So Cacheflow was the first company where LinkedIn ads was the primary channel I was running. The last one, it was Facebook ads, and the one before that, it was Google ads. So yeah, you're right. Every channel has its time and place. And then once you've found it, you still have to figure out how to compete inside of that channel. But I'd say in general, if you're SaaS marketing to SaaS and there's not many other, pipeline assumptions in place, that's sort of like a really nice starting slate to have.
Got it. Yeah, I got what you're saying to say, because the starting place was like practically zero. There's no sort of issue of, oh, did this come from channel 1 or channel 2? Most of your investment was going into one channel anyways.
Yeah.
So at this stage, so you're scaling revenues and growth. You're moving from SMB to mid market. So what were some of the challenges that you faced, which led you to consider or look for solutions like Factors?
Yeah. So we had some clarity. Okay, LinkedIn ads is working, but we had this big lead source gap. So about like 30% of our deals at the end of every quarter, when I do our big quarterly reports, they were kind of just marked as direct traffic. And I'd explain, like, no one actually comes in direct traffic. Like, no one just, I'm going to randomly search this company Cacheflow and convert that way. So but I still wanted to, like, one, prove that out, and two, get, clarity on which campaigns and which ads they were coming from. And so, we got Factors, I think, probably like November or December 2023. And because we could, match our ad account impressions to, our de-anonymized web traffic, and then once they converted, we could actually show, hey, look, this account didn't just, magically appear. They've been seeing our ads for the last 3 months. Another huge piece of that too was, as we were moving up market, we're not just selling to the CEO anymore. The CEO, if they want to, they could demo and buy in the same day. It's a very short consideration cycle. Now we were dealing with RevOps mainly. So we have to influence RevOps, and we have to influence them enough where they're going to actually, shave off some time to go on demos. And then they have to influence their sales leader and their finance leader and still their, CEO or CFO to actually get budget approval. So we realized, okay, this is going to take a lot more ad impressions. It's no longer they can just see a few ads and convert, and factors help show us that. Because okay, we actually have to get like 50 plus impressions per account before we really get a conversion. And yeah, the more up market we move, the more that number grew. But it was super helpful to just kind of have a sense of impressions required, or what's the right amount. There's also this thing that's always in the back of your mind, like I don't want to spam people or like overwhelm them with too many ads. But we actually heard feedback from our prospects. They're like, you guys follow me around, but in the right way. Like it's not annoying. It's sort of like just enough to kind of keep cash flow like top of mind. So yeah.
Got it. So basically, as you're moving up market, you had to get a sense of how much investment do you make per company on LinkedIn, and as well as visibility into what what you mentioned, like around 30 to 40% of your deals were marked as direct,
Yep.
which is a problem I think that every SaaS company has.
Yeah.
Like I was going through my marketing numbers today as well, and the same issue, right? Like direct as a lead source is still pretty big. So with factors, you were able to get better visibility into what was actually bringing in leads and deals for you, and that gave you like the confidence to scale even more on LinkedIn.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think we were probably around 7K a month ad spend, and pretty quickly I brought that up to 15. And so as long as we had enough consistency at the new ad spend level, and we can prove that we were hitting the right accounts with factors, that was the other big piece, because like as long as I had my targeting dialed in, then I could show in factors, okay, we're getting all these new accounts in our sort of target list. Now we don't necessarily have to wait for as many conversions to come in. Now we can actually spend more, because as long as we have confidence that our marketing messaging will work, all the other parts are handled for us. We're getting in front of the right people. They're coming to our website. We know that. Now it's just much more of like an ad creative game than it is like a channel and budgeting game.
Got it. So basically, the confidence to scale quickly came from all of these data points around the fact that the right companies were coming to your website, researching, and then making an inquiry. Even if it were originally tagged as direct, you are now able to see that, hey, they've seen our ads, they've come to the website. So obviously, that journey kind of played a part, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about your ad strategy on LinkedIn? What kind of ads were you running? Like thought leader ads, single image ads, video ads, lead gen ads?
Yeah. So I ran pretty much exclusively single image ads and video ads. And sort of the creative approach was to attack pain points. So I would relate to a lot of pain points that people in this like mid-market SaaS space might have with their current CPQ, or pain points they're hitting for the first time because their pipeline or their sales team has just got to a certain point, and they might just be on like a basic quote builder, but they're kind of like hitting the limitations of that, and it's actually slowing them down. So yeah, a lot of things just around sales efficiency. Like your tools shouldn't slow you down; they should actually save your reps time at the end of the day. And also things that like the tools should be designed for the end users, which are AEs. You don't really need to build this like super powerful finance platform where most of the features go unused and kind of just get in the way. You need to build like a deal platform. And so that's what we actually started with was, Cacheflow is a deal closing tool. And then we kind of moved, more into, okay, we're connected CPQ and billing once our, feature parity kind of caught up. But yeah, really, like we didn't change our targeting too much after the first year. It was really just, okay, let's try to keep scaling it and really focused on the ad creatives. And we would get a lot of these ideas from the sales calls, so I think like one of the best marketing tools you can use is actually a call recorder. And especially if you can set up some automations where it's pulling out certain transcripts or snippets are great too. You can really find a lot of great ad ideas in the first 5 minutes of the prospects explaining, here's my current setup and here's all the pain I have. Yeah, definitely like a great source for ad.
Yeah, I agree. I think a couple of weeks back, we got like a new call recording solution, and it's worked out pretty well for us. It gives us snippets and categorizes pain points, etc. I like binge watched around 50 inbound sales calls. So these are all people who came inbound and said they want to kind of talk to us, and the pain points were very clear, right? Like they're doing a new product launch, they're doing a website positioning revamp, or the sales team is undergoing a change in structure, and it clearly kind of tells you exactly what triggered that evaluation at their side, right?
Yeah.
uh, Talking about that, so at the time that, like, November 2023, like how many sales folks were there at Cacheflow? Were you scaling your sales team? Was that also a consideration for you in terms of pipeline, generating enough pipeline?
Yeah, I think at that point we were just going from just one seller to two sellers. Um, but like the budget was like anytime we increased the budget, we kind of had to prove, here's why it makes sense to increase it now. So, if your budget's not increasing that much, but your pipeline goal is going up a lot, the only real lever you have is, okay, let's get our deal size up.
Hmm.
And so that's what we started to focus more on. After year one was, okay, we don't need to go in like 10x just the quantity of leads. We need to go in, 3 or 4x our ACV. And obviously that's going to have things like, probably longer sales cycles. And it's going to be harder to break into these accounts, but we were still able to actually, keep pretty good efficiency. Like, yeah, our cost per deal did go up, but it didn't go up
Hmm.
by nearly the amount that our ACV went up. So in some ways we could actually be a little bit more efficient on like a pipeline just to ad spend sort of standpoint. Um, but yeah, you mentioned like there's usually sort of compelling events that happen
Hmm.
that can cause companies to look for a tool. So that was something we really focused on was how do we pull out these compelling events from the sales calls and then use them in marketing messaging. So a big thing we found was, okay, if you're changing your pricing, uh,
Hmm.
so that's usually not just we're going from $100 to $200 a month. That's usually we're changing how we price. So a big thing was a lot of companies were starting to introduce usage based,
Hmm.
and it sounds really good, but then it comes down to bill, and companies have no idea how to actually like bill for this, and it's a very manual process. Like you have to kind of monitor, here's the amount and here's how we're going to bill, and then if there's any sort of deal changes with expansions, and then you have to deal with the prorations and the co-terming, it gets really messy quickly. So that was something we focused on, right? From a content standpoint, we talk about here's sort of all the new best SaaS pricing models. Usage based is a big point. Um, and then in the mid market, we could talk about here's how Cacheflow actually helps you launch usage based pricing.
Hmm.
And then I got to the point where I'm like, your RevOps infrastructure or your RevOps tech stack should never be what's delaying you from testing new pricing. Really, once your product is ready to test something, you should be able to do it. So you don't want to be limited by your sales or marketing or RevOps stack. So yeah, always just trying to find like new sort of compelling events like that a lot of our ICP would most likely be dealing with or dealing with in the near future.
Got it. Understood. Riley, let's just switch gears now and try to get to some tactical day-to-day activities, right? And would love to understand how factors kind of helped you
Yeah.
in what all ways. And by this time, how big was the marketing team at Cashflow? I'm presuming it would have grown.
Um, Yeah, actually, I think that's right. So it was just me at this point and
Mm.
internally, but I was using some contractors. So yeah, I
Mm.
had like a graphic designer. We had a SEO agency. We had a Webflow developer. So I definitely had some help. But yeah, internally it was just me.
Got it. Got it. So, yeah, could you take us through, like, on a day-to-day tactical basis, how were you using factors, and how did it help you?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So once I kind of use factors to figure out just like our deal sourcing sort of issue, now I wanted to go to like, okay, how can we proactively use it to find intent signals and actually kind of like make more out of our CRM. So the obvious starting point, and this is really what worked best the whole time, was focusing on close loss deals. So
Mm.
factors could identify, once a close loss deal came back to our website. And then factors could also send a sales notification, like a Slack notification, to let us know, okay, they just came back this morning. So once, we could build lists of these accounts, we could actually start to score and sort them based on how many times they came back. And once they hit like a certain threshold, it wasn't very big. I think it was, just like a couple of visits for us. We would actually pipe in what was the close loss deal reason into that notification. And if it was something that was very obviously like that we had improved or fixed, that was a signal now for either, one of our AEs or our BDR that we ended up bringing on to go and reapproach this person and just be very specific. Like, hey, we know we talked with your team 6 months ago. We know we kind of fell short in this area, but here's how we've made it better. So we actually take the first step of showing them, okay, now it's improved. Now would you like to, kind of reevaluate? And so, yeah, I think anything you can do to like decrease the friction of, okay, we're not asking them to get on a call so that we can just do the same thing. We want to show, okay, the table stakes things are done. Like that's no longer an issue. Now let's kind of talk about how we're even better than, 6 months ago or 9 months ago. So yeah, the messaging playbook was pretty simple. It was more the timing piece that was really important. But yeah, we found that if we could reach out to them that same day of when they were showing a lot of like, re-interest, and which factors surface for us, it worked pretty good. And these deals were often a lot more qualified because we would only really re-engage the accounts that were qualified in the first place. And because they had a pretty good broad sense of what Cacheflow could do, it's obviously, much shorter sales cycles. So it just comes down a lot more to the commercials of the deal at that point.
Got it. So at a high level, the playbook or the detailed playbook is you had a bunch of accounts that were marked as close lost in your CRM for whatever reason. They were unresponsive or there was a feature limitation. And you would have these reasons inside at an account level in your CRM.
Yeah.
Whenever those accounts start showing activity on your website beyond a certain threshold, you would get a real-time alert, the real time being important to reach out to them. And once you get that real-time alert, and if the close loss reasons were already addressed from a product perspective, then a salesperson can reach out with very specific messaging saying, we've now fixed all of that. Would you like to get on a call? And because they're already qualified, they already know about Cacheflow. You're saying this was like one of the playbooks that really worked well. Got it. Understood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Got it. And would you say, is this something like from your experience, is this something that you've implemented in the past as well, like the same playbook, or is this something that you stumbled upon here to say, hey, like the first alert that you got, it was a closed lost account, someone reached out, booked a meeting, and then you just accelerated that once you saw that success?
Yeah. I think I don't think I'd run this at other companies before. I think we always knew in the back of our mind, like, okay, like let's say we're having a down month or something. Where could we theoretically get quick new pipeline? We always knew that was probably the close loss list, but we were a mostly inbound business, and even at that point, 2 reps like wasn't very much capacity, so we could never really justify, okay, let's get our reps to go and cold call 100 close and just like take a shot at it. We really need high confidence. Like there's a reason why, we need to justify pause on the inbound today and go and do a bit of like re-engaged outbound. And so, yeah, it was just that starting step of what can marketing do to like warm up some of this? And then actually what can marketing do to really like get an email reply or get a meeting booked? So then at that point, it's so obvious to why sales should re-engage with them. I think that was the key part. Yeah. How do we kind of do this, with a lean sales team?
Got it. Understood. Did you ever expand to trying LinkedIn ads to these close lost accounts as well, or the volume was not big enough for a ad campaign?
Yeah, I think we were definitely just naturally retargeting a lot of them. Like they were still in a retargeting pool. I think I may have ran like a one-off campaign where, yeah, it was just people at those accounts. The thing you run into is, okay, now you're actually marketing to a lot of other people at the account that may not have been involved in the deal. Or, you're running into yeah, the list it's not big enough where we might actually just be like kind of spamming these people too much and might actually be like hurting more than helping. So yeah, like you do kind of have to let them show some level of intent of when they're ready to re-engage, but it's just how do you understand when that person is ready to re-engage? That's really the key. And yeah, obviously things like factors can do that for you.
Got it. And when you said real time, right? What did you mean? Like how quickly was the team reaching out to these accounts?
Yeah. Once they ended up on our close loss re-engaged list, we would always, try to get to them within the hour. Definitely
Mm,
within that same day. Um, and then, I mean, yeah, if it was a weekend, like we might have had an automated email running or something. Um, I mean, if it was up to me, I would try to do like, let's go and get them while they're on the website. But obviously,
mm.
you just need like a larger team. Like, I think we would have got to the point where we were like going to build out our BDR function more. And that probably would have been, someone's job was just kind of monitor all the people on the website now, find the ones that have intent. And if they have close loss intent, like that's top of your list to go and get that person on the phone or convert them some other way.
Got it. Understood. Understood. So we discussed the two main use cases, which were like on a regular basis used. One was the warm outbound for closed lost accounts. The other was the importance of an ability to kind of build confidence that LinkedIn is working for you, and that from LinkedIn you're getting all of these inquiries because accounts are coming to your website, spending time, and then booking a sales call. Again, interesting because you're doing single image ads, so you're not even like collecting leads on the platform on LinkedIn, which is
Yeah.
what a lot of companies do as well. The fact that you were able to make it work on single image ads is like really, really interesting, right? Like a
Yeah.
lot of customers I speak to, they just they just don't want to run single image ads because then it seems like you're taking a leap of faith, whilst I keep telling them like lead gen would be much harder to kind of make it work.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of actually, did you did you think about that trade-off at some point to say, should we just go for
Yeah.
like a lead gen campaign?
Yeah. So that thing was definitely a philosophy decision. And yeah, it's interesting when everyone's like, oh, it's so expensive. Like you gotta, but really like if you're running lead gen ads, like you're taking a leap of faith that this is a real lead.
Yeah.
So it's not so much like, it's more like, what do you think is a point of like a lead? And then how do we optimize for that? So for me, it was, I think they're a lead once they ask to see a demo. And then
Mm,
really it's like, we only care about, the SaaS companies that, are in our ICP that request a demo. So we're going to fully optimize for that point. But yeah, I think the lead gen versus the landing page thing, like the other thing is you want them to go to your website because you need them to self-qualify too, right? Like clicking the ad
mm,
is the first step of, okay, I have some interest, but you need them to self-qualify and be like, okay, well, yes, I am a SaaS company. Yes, I do have some of these pains. Okay, these logos look like similar companies to me. I can probably afford this tool. You want all that stuff to happen before you talk to them to make sure like you're not overwhelming your sales team with junk leads. Because as soon as your sales team loses faith in your leads, like they're just going to go and find other channels, and then you're going to have very few inbound leads closing. For the most part, you need to make sure you're bringing in like the right type of leads. And the other thing too is once they click on your website, now you can retarget them for
mm,
much cheaper. You don't have to keep relying on the cold layer clicks. We can. That's why we actually use Facebook ads too. Is we can get sort of like around the clock coverage for much cheaper on Facebook ads. And but really, I think the key point is we need them to self qualify. So yeah, that was a pure philosophy thing. I think we maybe ran even like a couple $100 on lead gen specifically for this template we were doing. But even
mm,
still, just running image ads where they click it and then go to the landing page to get the template on our website worked better than running lead gen.
mm,
But especially if it's the point where you're trying to get a demo, I've just found lead gen ads, by the time the demo happens, they don't even remember they filled out the form. But if they go to your website, schedule their own demo, And if you have really good availability and they can book soon, like our no-show rate was less than 10%, because we
Mm.
had a really good inbound flow. So yeah, it's kind of like, where do you want to waste your time? Do you want to waste it up top, or do you want to waste it like at the end? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Like, where do you want to waste your time? Do you want to make it like super easy for users to just in a couple of clicks fill out a form, and then when you and there is no scheduler there, so
Yeah.
you get like a email ID, somebody reaches out or calls them, and they're like, I don't remember downloading that asset or even booking a demo, right? And yeah, you've already incurred very expensive sort of sales bandwidth at that time already, as
Yep.
compared to saying let them come inbound and fill out a form. Yeah, I think this is one of those things where it's obvious as to it, why one might work out better, but it's just really hard to make that case internally in many companies that
Yeah.
I work with, at least. uh, and I'm talking companies who are selling like 100K plus ACV product, right? Like, and the
Yeah.
signal is like a content download on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
To kind of reach
And
out.
And obviously, like bigger companies, like you're going to have squeezed the low hanging, juice much earlier. So now you're like, a lot of times, like your budget may actually be too big, but you're going to default to the things that you can track. Whereas, if you run this approach, like you can't really track it until they land on your site, which, like,
Mm,
also, if I was that person at the much larger company, I would definitely use something like factors to prove, okay, like we're changing our approach, but look at our, our uplift in all of our ICP companies visiting the website. Like, if you can, like, you're never going to find that in LinkedIn ads, but if you can use factors to show something like that, now you can buy yourself a bit more time, to the point where, the percentage of ICP demo requests is going up. And then you can buy yourself a bit more time till the percentage of, ICP pipeline is going. And then once you have that rolling, like, you'll have all the buy-in you need to keep, doing it the way you want to. But yeah, I think in general too, like, people just spread themselves too thin on LinkedIn ads. Like, they'll do a little bit of everything, and try like every ad type. Um, I think like video is definitely good too, because you can really influence someone without having to leave the platform.
mm,
But I even took that approach with image ads, right? Like, most of the image ads I did is I want them to be able to learn something, or get social proof, or just get a little bit further down our funnel without ever having to click the ad. And so a lot of our best performing ads, from a pipeline perspective, they were like 0.3% CTR or even lower, which is like pretty bad for CTR. But because we had pretty good down funnel tracking, like, we were never really optimizing for CTR or clicks. It was, yeah, how do we optimize for pipeline relative to ad spend? So yeah, I think
got it.
that's a good way to do it.
Got it. So yeah, we covered warm outbound. We covered LinkedIn and scaling up LinkedIn. What were the other sort of use cases?
Yeah, so warm outbound, and then also scaling up LinkedIn. So another big use case was marketing analytics. Um, so yeah, when GA4 came out, I pretty much gave up on Google Analytics at that point. Like, I've been using it for the last 10 years, no problem with Universal Analytics. I mean, it had its downsides, but I knew how to get the data I needed. And then GA4 came, and I waited till the very last day, to make the switch over. And that probably didn't help. But yeah, I just got to the point where I was like, okay, I need better analytics tools. So um, factors, obviously, like, it kind of, just felt like UA more than GA, which I liked. But two, we could actually see the companies instead of just anonymous web hits. But three, it made it like really easy to just like build the exact report I wanted. And we had really good, customer support. So Yogesh was my account manager, and when we first started, we would do, probably an hour weekly meeting, and he would just build out like all of these really cool reports that I even always wanted to see in Google Analytics, but I couldn't. And then something else that helped us develop is, going to like an account-based conversion model, or like an
Mm,
ICP conversion model. So, if we just took all of our random traffic and then looked at our conversion rate, it was like 1%, which is bad. But I also knew, I'm like, there's lots of other like non-qualified traffic. So then when we started looking at, okay, what's our account-based conversion rate? It was more like 5%. So I was like, okay, this is actually pretty good. Like we're converting 5% of accounts. And then I could look at, okay, of all the accounts that are ICP, what's our, and it was more like 8%. So when I could actually look at that and then I could compare it page to page, there were certain landing pages that were bringing in less leads and I thought they weren't working good. But then it was very obvious, like, oh no, these pages are bringing in like our upmarket deals. And so that's when I really started to focus more on messaging too, because yeah, we could kind of like take the gamble of, okay, we're going to get slightly less number of deals, but it's very obvious how this messaging that is, it's less relevant for all of our traffic, but it's very relevant for the new traffic that we're targeting, and it is starting to work and help bring our deal size up and move us into like a new range of companies that would never consider us before. And so yeah, like a big thing I would do is the conversion rate by landing page analysis. Something else I would do is I would just have like for every single campaign I would have a report. So sometimes like LinkedIn ads goes through algorithm changes, or a big thing that growth marketers have is probably once a year you'll just have like a dip, and you can never really understand why that. Like you always think, okay, hopefully it's just seasonality, and then you talk with LinkedIn and you try to figure out what's causing it, but you want to have your checks and balances in place to be like, okay, is this just a seasonality dip or is something really going wrong? So on the LinkedIn ad side, I would check for, okay, is my budget getting underspent, or are my ads being shown too early in the day and they're shutting off? So things like that would happen. But then I would check factors and look, okay, are we still getting the right types of companies? Sometimes I would launch, a new campaign and I would forget a certain filter, or I would, combine, let's say like two different employee sizes, but it would really just optimize to the smaller employee size instead of the larger. And because I could see, okay, here's all of the accounts that are clicking on our ads, that was like a really good check and balance to have in place if something in my targeting was wrong. And yeah, it's not like I was looking at it every day, but I was probably looking at it once a week. And then, yeah, I was really looking at it if we were having like a down week or a down month.
Got it. Yeah, and like from what I remember, you are like the power user of our product. Like you've kind of used it and tried it out to the maximum extent. So I keep telling my CS team saying that the number of sort of reports and dashboards that you've built out using factors is probably the most I've seen across all my customers, right? So
yeah, I think we had like 120 reports or something.
Yeah. I mean, first time I logged, I checked that project. I was like, this is like quite a lot, right? And that's when I think first time I got on a call, I remember telling Yogesh saying, hey, I definitely need to speak to Riley because I need to understand what exactly is going on here.
Yeah.
So you're saying the ability to do a full funnel analysis all the way with your LinkedIn data, your website data, your HubSpot data in like one place, ability to build reports very flexibly if you wanted to build a funnel report, build it the way you want without having like some predefined sort of templates. Account level conversion analysis as compared to user conversion analysis was another thing that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And then that helped you understand that for certain segments, certain landing pages were working very well. So whilst you were in this motion of going up market, you were able to figure out which landing pages were working best for you, right?
Yeah.
And you could then hence optimize those landing pages and focus more on them, right? Got it, understood. So this helped you essentially from a conversion rate optimization perspective. In terms of content, like so how was your content engine set up? Were you like writing the content, or you had some other folks helping you out?
Yeah, so we had a few different parts. We had SEO. So yeah, we did have like we started off with SEO research agency. So I really like their model. They did like a 3-month sprint model instead of these like 12-month retainer SEO packages. So I really like the model. And then their whole kind of scope was, we're going to go and find you the best bottom of funnel keywords that are under competitive to help get you quick SEO wins. And then we'll move up the funnel from there. So yeah, we definitely used SEO as an acquisition source. And that took time, but I think we moved from like one blog a month to 2 blogs per week. And then, once that first sprint went good, they actually started writing the blogs, and I would just do some light editing. So that was one piece. And then we also have what I call like buyer content. It's essentially just like our best content, where it's not going to like attract a ton of people, but it's going to be really helpful for our customers, for anyone in our sales cycles, or anywhere we distribute it, like through LinkedIn ads. And I kind of just wanted like one sort of offer that was higher up than book a demo. So we would do one gated content piece per quarter. And so we had like SEO content, buyer content, and for our buyer content, we started doing data backed deal, like B2B SaaS deal closing insights. So I mean, I was seeing all these really cool companies doing these like first party data studies. And especially, if you're in SaaS, it's super hard to find SaaS specific benchmarks, but no one was really doing it around deal closing. So we thought, okay, we have all this really cool aggregate data on, time to close and proposal views, and win rate and loss rate. And so we would, we just do things like, how does proposal views affect win rate? Or, is there actually a certain discounting point where it's hurting you more than helping you? Like, can over discounting actually extend deal cycles instead of shorten them? And so, yeah, like that type of content worked really well. Obviously, it was a bit harder to produce, but I think, yeah, it has a super important part in the funnel. And then, yeah, we would do a little bit of gated content towards the end, which, that was one of my philosophy things coming into it. Was like, I think if you have content, you should just ungate it, and it should be so good it should work. But it definitely had its place. And I think it was more so, because someone was committing to giving you their email, and now you can market to them a bit. Once they actually got value out of the thing they downloaded, they were way more likely to engage with us after. And it's not like we were like cold calling the people that downloaded books. Like, they were still mostly coming to us. But being able to track them inside of something like Factors after they convert was pretty big. So we would definitely have another report of, okay, here's what all of our accounts that download an ebook and the actual leads. Here's what they do after the fact. Here's what they're probably interested in. Now let's use our outreach messaging based around what we think they're interested in. And yeah, that's where I think everything's kind of moving, right? Is there's a lot of good like AI SDR tools available now. And people are, starting to go more on the proactive side than just waiting for everyone to convert inbound. But as these tools become cheaper and more widely adopted, the only difference you can really compete on is your data. It's like your intent data, and like what are your intent signals going to be? If it's all the same third party ones, like firmographics, technographics, job changes, like everyone has that. So you can really only use like your own properties, mainly your website, to try to figure out different types of intent or different timings of intent. And Factors was really good at like helping us get a sense of that. So, we could look at like number of visitors per account, or just time spent on each page or each session per account, or the depth of pages. Like, are they just going to the same 2 pages every time, or are they like really, going to all of our website? And are they watching more of like the secret pages, like our demo video pages and our collateral pages and things like that? And yeah, I think we were just starting to scratch the surface of it, but it was working well enough where our BDR was able to have like a lot of success straight off the bat, because he had some good signals to work with. And yeah, that was something I was looking forward to for sure. Was like, how do we scale this? Hiring BDRs, but giving them a really good starting point so that they don't really have to like do too much list building. It's mostly, message testing, kind of like our ads. Like, once we got our ad targeting dialed in, it was way more of like a messaging and a creative exercise.
Got it. No, I like the way you put it, to say once AI is the tools to reach out, and the entire infrastructure around it, mailboxes, etc., becomes easily accessible, then what differentiates is whom are you reaching out to and what's the offer and what's the message, right?
Yeah.
It'll become almost like ad testing to say you'll try out
Yeah.
different messages and say which one kind of works out best. And I think one compelling thing that you said is an offer which is valuable is obviously like what I see is a lot of companies focusing on personalization in terms of saying, hey, you're from here, I've been there, or something like that. But the offer is still like a demo, right? But
Yeah.
if you have a high value content offer like the one that you mentioned, then that's a very easy way for a buyer to start engaging with you. And then you can also kind of see, are they progressing in terms of showing some interest in your offering, so that you can send a follow-up email saying, at this time, would you like to kind of get on a call, right?
Yeah.
So I think the differentiator now would be, how do you actually time this? How do you create an offer which is compelling, not just get on a call? And then what's the messaging that helps you really stand out?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think the other piece too is, when you're doing like a gated asset play like this, like make it 10 times more high quality and valuable than you think you have to. And so,
Hmm.
like we were moving into like advanced RevOps content here, but none of us were like RevOps thought leaders. So we actually looked to partner with really smart RevOps. So we partnered with this firm called Domestique. They're like a really advanced RevOps consulting firm, and they had already built this framework of, here's how you do a RevOps audit. It was actually, one of like the services they charge for is a really
Okay.
advanced RevOps audit. But he worked with us to kind of just create this like Google Sheets version of it. And so really the framework kind of had this third party social proof of it's coming from this really good firm. Like a lot of people knew of it. We're just going to distribute it to all of like the RevOps people through LinkedIn ads, through all of the traffic on our web. Like we just had it in like a Webflow dropdown banner.
Hmm.
And we'll help it get the reach. And we actually, like we co-marketed it. So like both of our logos were on it. We kind of like shared the leads list. But yeah, I think choosing the topic of like, okay, if someone downloads this, that's actually an intent signal for us. So, the first thing was, we did a RevOps audit. If a RevOps leader is looking to audit their whole department, a big part of that is probably their tools. And
Hmm.
what's one of the biggest RevOps tools you can buy? Like a CPQ. So that was a really good sign for us. And then, our next one we did was CPQ migration checklist. That one
Hmm.
might have been a little like that one didn't perform as good for us. It might have been a little too obvious what we were trying to do, right? Like, are you looking to move CPQs? But
Yeah.
so you can also use like your gated assets as an intent signal when done right.
Got it. Now, let's say going back now, fabulous story, like, all the way from 2 years, a little under 2.5 or 3 years from seed stage to an exit to one of the iconic SaaS companies in the world, right? Now, if there's a new marketer who's starting out at like a seed stage company, what advice would you have for them in terms of, uh, cut out the clutter, follow, like, this is what worked for you. I'm not saying it'll work for everyone, but this is what worked for you. This was your playbook.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Yeah, really, really good question. I would say if you're like a growth marketing background person coming in, um, you're probably going to spend a lot of time figuring out who your ICP is. And
Hmm.
I think a lot of times startups think they know who that is and they think they have product market fit before they really know. Um, so yeah, I would say like try to get a list of all the assumptions from the company and like especially from the founders and just kind of document that. And then as you are going through your first marketing tests, kind of compare your notes of which assumptions you think are wrong. Um, and use that for why you should do things differently, or why you need more budget to kind of prove things out. And really, for me, like I didn't know if our ideal buyer was going to be CEOs or VPs of sales or VPs of finance or RevOps. Like we knew it was going to be one of those four, but I pretty
Hmm.
much evenly tested all four at the beginning. And even like a LinkedIn ad strategy thing is make your campaigns pretty much as small as possible at the beginning. So I did a lot of like 3 to 7,000 person audiences where it was only one so even within sales, I would have VP of sales, sales director, sales
Mm,
manager, all at, you know, SaaS companies. So we could really understand, okay, like who has the buying power at these types of companies, who is more likely to convert, and what types of ads and what types of messaging are they, you know, motivated by. So something for us, we found out that, like, okay, sales leaders, they're pretty good at converting. They care way more about what the quote looks like and how it makes them appear. So they really liked, you know, you can make your quotes really branded. You can track when your prospects are opening them. But you know, when it came to like the back end CPQ, they weren't really as interested in that. Versus, you know, a VP of RevOps, they don't really care like how much you can brand the quote, or even like sales analytics tracking is kind of table stakes. What they really care is like, how long is this going to take me to implement? And then how easily can
mm,
I make big changes once it's implemented? And so you use that to guide the ads, but also like you use it to guide the demo once you're on the call. And so, you know, as you're going through this, like the head of marketing is one of, even though you're not talking with customers the most, you kind of want to have the most like market understanding. And you can do that again by watching a lot of recorded calls. Um, and then you kind of like, it's not really like a buyer persona sheet, but you're kind of mapping out, here's our, you know, our best audiences, here's what they care about, and here's the best channels to convert them. So something else we found too, right, was finance would always get involved, but finance was one of the lower converting personas. So like, even though they
mm,
theoretically should have really cared about this, they just weren't as motivated to change. You know, like
mm,
a finance leader, there's a lot less of them. Like they're kind of a lot more focused on doing their job like correctly than they are like, oh, let's go and find like the best new billing tool that might help. Like the sales leader really cares because they're managing a huge team. They need as much efficiency as possible. The finance leader
mm,
just wants to make sure that they're not going to, you know, report something wrong, or they're not going to have to spend like thousands of hours, you know, manually doing it. So I think like, yeah, once you can kind of create a framework of here's who cares about us and why, you can use that to then go and guide your much bigger marketing budget decisions. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's not the most tactical advice, but I think it's like something important to try to do. And then yeah, maybe, you know, like outside of that, I would say just like try to avoid spreading yourself too thin. Like you never want to
mm,
be like, okay, we're going to try a little bit of Facebook and Google and Reddit and Twitter ads, and then we'll, whichever one has the best CPL, we'll just go and do that. You kind of want to come in with some philosophies from past jobs of, you know, like for me, I'm like, we're just never going to run LinkedIn lead gen ads. Here's why,
mm.
and then here's the results of why that's better. So yeah, try to have some philosophies on certain things, but then when it comes to the ICP, try to, yeah, not bring too many assumptions.
Got it. Understood. So be very curious, open to discovering on the ICP assumptions inside the company, within not just at a firmographic level, but for each buying group, what matters to them, what resonates to them, what are their motivations, so that you can show the right kind of ads. I really like the point you mentioned of start with really small audiences on LinkedIn,
Yep,
so that you can understand what's resonating with each one. Later, you can club it together, but at least early stage, use it as a message testing sort of a system. And don't spread yourself too thin on this, right?
definitely.
uh, cool. I think we're almost coming to an end. Thanks a lot, Riley. It's been great working with you, and we've improved the product a lot based on your feedback, so you've played as much of a role in our journey. We're happy that we were part of your sort of growth at Cacheflow as well, right? So
Yeah,
excited to see what you would be up to now with the acquisition and so on. And I look forward to continue to work with you.
yeah. Well, likewise, the feelings are mutual. Yeah, I would say, you know, like you guys are a great marketing co-pilot tool. And I can definitely see, you know, how you're going into areas where it's much more than that. So yeah, keep building like really helpful things. I really enjoyed working with you, and you know, the team is super hands-on too. So yeah, big fan of Factors, and thanks for having me on today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Riley. And for anyone else beyond the conversation, anyone listening, for beyond the conversation we had today, if you had any questions, I'm taking the liberty here, Riley, to say they could always kind of reach out to you to
Yep.
understand how this journey worked out and so on. And yeah, thanks a ton. I think I'll end the stream now. Just give me 1 second.